Darryl Wolski is joining us. Darryl, we got about 7.5 minutes here, so I want to get right down to it. Thanks for doing this again. I saw your.
Sorry about the technical difficulty.
That's all right. Say sometimes it happens. Trust me. I noticed this the other day in that tweet. There were a lot of Arizona State University kids. What are they? 3rd year, 4th year D1 hockey program. Just looks like a fantastic. I've spent a lot of time in Arizona. Fantastic place to play hockey, but there are kids from there going into the portal, some big names. The portal, NCAA hockey, are we seeing it more now this year from what you're seeing?
Oh, yeah, for sure. And I think with the Arizona State situation was, and I've talked to players that went into the portal, and they just hated the coaches. They felt there's no development. Sure, it's, playing in Phoenix, probably the best place to play in temperature-wise, climate-wise, girls-wise, facility-wise, but guys hated the coaches. As simple as that. That's why 12 guys went into the portal from a place you would think that guys would want to be at. It's not like playing at Alaska or Long Island, or playing at Lindenwood or one of these smaller D1 programs, or Tennessee or something like that, or Maryville. Pretty good place being in Phoenix, but players just didn't like the coaches.
How does the portal work?
Well, how it works is the player has to tell either if they have like say in North Dakota they have Bryn Chizek, who's like their GM. Not many teams have GMs. It's not like Marps at University of Alberta. Not many teams have GMs. So they go to their coach or their GM and they say, "Hey, I'm done. I'm sorry. I really enjoyed it." And be like George Costanza on Seinfeld. I'm going to leave on a high note, and and that's what they say. Hey, I'm going to go I'm going to go to the portal. But here's the problem with the portal is, say you're a kid with 2 points. What team's going to want you? Mm-hmm. That's $1 million question. So you can go in the portal, and then all of a sudden you're playing at University of Manitoba because nobody wanted you, or they don't want to go to Division III hockey because it's expensive. So they go, well, I'm just going to go play U Sports. I'll go play in Ottawa or Vancouver, Regina, Winnipeg, whatever, and they'll go to a U Sports team. But the portal is very busy, as you can see. I think that there's going to be federal legislation that's going to go through with Donald Trump that he's going to pass it that guys can only go in the portal once, not every year.
What schools, and then we talked about ASU, and then obviously we just watched Denver. We had Boston Buckberger on the show Tuesday of this week. Great young man, by the way. What schools are we not seeing any kids enter the transfer portal from?
Well, even people would assume that the holy grail of college hockey is University of North Dakota. And even from those programs, like those high-end programs, University of Minnesota, Boston, Michigan, see what happens is a lot of those guys end up being 3rd and 4th line guys, or they're 3rd-string goalies, or they're 7th or 8th defensemen, or they're the grocery sticks on the team, basically dividing the forwards and defensemen on the bench, never playing. So those guys go, I'm going to get out of here. I want to go somewhere where I can play. But, it's kind of cool and sexy. Hey, I'm playing for Minnesota. Hey, I'm playing for North Dakota. Hey, I'm playing for Boston. I'm going to play Michigan. Those are the cool teams, and not necessarily playing for Lindenwood or Alaska or Long Island or Maryville or Sacred Heart are cool teams to play for. So I think you're seeing now a lot of guys from those, like your question is like, I think most programs have lost at least a few players.
It's interesting, though, because it's kind of giving the players, I guess, some authority as well, because for years we heard of teams decommitting or basically pulling scholarships from kids. Now players can have it. I think there might be, personally, and I never had to go through it, so I don't know. It seems like doing it more than once, that would get a little bit old. What about, I want to ask you about this, and I don't know how much you know about this. What about the Ivy League schools? When it comes to kids transferring there, because you got a different standard when you go to these Ivy League schools.
Well, that's why I think you see a lot of problem with the CHL. Like a lot of those CHL guys, they're just not on that academic basis of like when a place like RPI, for example, or Dartmouth, they want guys to be 3.9, 4.0 GPA. Or maybe a guy could come out playing for the Brandon Wheat Kings and be a 2.9. Well, he can't go there. He's just not academically there. So that's another issue. But And also, too, if you don't get a great scholarship, and I tell you what, going to RPI or Quinnipiac or Dartmouth, those are like $70,000 a year, and I'm not talking Canadian money. So it's like $100,000 Canadian.
Very interesting. What are the youngest that kids and are starting to talk to schools, or is it the advisors? Is it you guys? What's the youngest?
I've had a 12-year-old talk. I've had a team call me about a 12-year-old. I can't say the name, but schools have called me about a 12-year-old I'm working with. I know that other agents in Western Canada, I know that they got guys that are like, like you look in Brandon, you look at that, you look at the Nickel boys. Well, the Nickel boys in Brandon are getting a lot of attention, so maybe they will play a couple years. Like, what is his brother's played a few games this year in Everett, but I mean, like those young guys like that are now becoming schools are going, well, we're going to put these guys on the radar screen. But they can only communicate through me until the player is actually it's January 1st of their grade 10 season. When they're in grade 10 and January 1st, teams can then text and communicate with those players, but not until January 1st.
Sorry, I say that January 1st of your grade 10 year? Or?
Yes. In the meantime, they could talk to me, because otherwise it's kind of quote-unquote tampering.
Yeah.
I really don't know what the NCAA term is for that, by the way, if a team was to reach out. Like, I know that UNLV, which is an ACHA team, I know the ACHA is club hockey and they have different rules, but they're phoning anybody, and they're offering NIL money to go play in Vegas, go play club hockey. They're giving guys $25,000-$50,000 a year to go there. So
then you would use that money towards the schooling with financial aid?
This would be over and above schooling. Schooling would be free, and they would get, this is their kind of quote-unquote NIL money that they're offering. Like UNLV, maybe it's a unique position to a lot of ACHA teams, because I think that what UNLV is going to try and do is like what Maryville's done, what Tennessee's done.
ASU?
They're going to try and move up to Division I.
Yeah. I did hear that, I think, last year. What's your take on WHL as this is still very new with everything, but with 16-year-olds playing in the Western Hockey League, it was probably more popular. I'm hearing word that people think we're going to see less 16-year-olds play in the Western Hockey League. Maybe they play another year Triple M Midget, but maybe they go play a Junior A, an SJ, AJ, MJ kind of thing. What's your take there?
Well, my take there is, first of all, I was wrong with this whole CHL thing. I was totally wrong with this, and what I mean by that was, I didn't think these CHL guys would bend over backwards to be going to college and committing when they're 18 or 19, and I didn't see that coming. But, to answer your question with the 16-year-olds, I personally haven't heard anything like that there's going to be more or less 16-year-olds playing. I think that you're going to see, like, if a kid's like a first-round draft pick, like, if he's a Maddox Schultz, for example, that's a different story. But, if he's just an average Western Hockey League draft pick, I don't think he's going to play less or more. And I don't think that, from what I can see, that at that 16-year-old age or even 17-year-old age, I don't see guys, hang on the SJ or the AJ or BCHL for an extra year. I haven't seen that, and I haven't heard that really.
We got about a minute and a half left, and I want to wrap it up. The U.S. draft and the WHL this year. What do you think changes when it comes to the prospects draft in the WHL with no U.S. draft?
Well, I think you're going to see now is Western Hockey League teams in the past have really gone hard after Texas kids, after California kids, and Minnesota kids. In the past, Minnesota kids are like, well, no, I'm not going to Western Hockey League. Are you crazy? Now they're going to go, well, maybe I'll go to Western Hockey League for a year or two, then go play for the Gophers, or go play in Kamloops, and then I'm going to go to North Dakota for a couple years. I think you're going to see a difference with more American kids, especially in those non-traditional CHL markets like Minnesota. Those kids are, I'm not saying you're going to see a huge difference, because a lot of those kids want to play high school hockey in Minnesota. They want to play Breck, they want to play whatever. They want to play Maple Grove, Edina, Cake Eaters in Medina, whatever. They still all want to still have that glory playing in the state championship at in St. Paul. So I think that's the big difference with the U.S. import draft. I think you're just going to see more players coming to the league from the U.S., and I think you're going to see kids as young as 17 come to the league.
Will they draft them, or will they just protect them, or just invite them up?
Probably a combination of all the above. Like, you look at the Pats, and they've had some stronghold in Minnesota, for example, with scouting, and that PA's had that too. PG's had that. Red Deer's had that. They've had a real strong presence with their scouting in Minnesota. So I think that you're going to still see kids getting drafted for sure, because even if they put a 6th-round draft pick into a kid who's a decent Minnesota player, it's worth it for a 6th-round pick. They're maybe not going to blow a 1st or 2nd-round pick, but they might go 6th or 7th.
Okay, we're up against the clock here. We'll have to catch up again, though, shortly, because still more to get to. Appreciate your time today. Sorry about the technical difficulties on both ends.
No, that's on my end, so my apologies, guys. And thank you again for having me on. And